Welcome to part 2 of The Gift of Choice, Empowerment of Beauty.
The media is certainly huge. We are being bombarded with media messages all the time. If you're watching TV, commercials, billboards, magazine covers, we are bombarded with an image of what beauty looks like in our culture. And why it's so critically important to be aware that we are being bombarded with these issues is because how beauty is being defined is not healthy for any one of us. It's what's leading to all of those statistics. You look at, as you're standing in the grocery line, you look at those magazine covers, and for one thing, they're probably not real. They've probably been photoshopped to make them look perfect. And so we're looking at these standing in the grocery line with the subtitle of beauty in some way, and then we go home and look in the mirror, and we're not even close to that, and then we start to make a definition about our own beauty. It's just not so. It's really just not the reality, because we are all, as Bonnie always says, we're snowflakes. We are unique. We're never going to look like anybody else, and we don't want to look perfect. I still love this story about, what's that actress? The one that was in Titanic with Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet, she saw herself on the cover of a magazine and that had been photoshopped, and she said, "That's not me. I don't even want to look like that. That's way too perfect." And so being aware that we need to, Bonnie's internal locus of control, being aware of what you allow in. Start to, I don't know whether I want to say put up filters. It's really more for me of an awareness. It's like, look at how they're looking at beauty. Be curious about it, but don't take it in, because those models represent 2% of the population. This 5'9", 110 pounds, beautiful skin, long hair, great eyes, and the darn thing about it is they don't even feel beautiful. So think about that for a minute. This is what's happening in our culture, and why we're so passionate about the show and bringing this topic to light more and more, because it's just not right, it's not healthy, and it's not real. What do you have to say about that, Bonnie?
Yeah. I before the show, I did some searching on Google, and I just searched for definition of beauty or beauty definition, and you know what came up?
What?
All that stuff, just the physical stuff. Not, it was the things that people can do for beauty, losing weight, makeup, and all those sorts of things. And it wasn't, what you are on the inside. So I would like to propose that beauty, the definition of beauty, should be not what it looks like, but what it feels like.
Yeah. And, think about when you see something beautiful, usually there's an expression of, and that's that feeling. It comes from deep inside of you. When you see a beautiful sunset, when you see a beautiful flower, and I'm talking about exquisite beauty, there's always, it's actually been studied, there's always this remark of, or this expression which comes from deep inside of you of just, that is so beautiful. I'm sure that many of you, if not all of you, have had that experience, because it's almost an automatic experience. So influences, the media is a huge influence, and again, to be conscious that that's what's going on is absolutely the first step. Another influence is our friends and family. We love them, and they're not always looking out for our best interest, because they're being influenced by all these outside forces too. So take it all with a grain of salt. What's most important is for you to find your own beauty. And, well, guess what? The challenge in that is that we're our own worst critic. So we look in the mirror and we tend to have a hard focus on all the things we don't like about the way we look. And what I want to propose is to cultivate in the practice and this whole idea about being able to see your beauty within, in the mirror, as well as outside of you, is something you cultivate because of this culture that we live in. So what I propose is when you look in the mirror to have a soft focus on the whole being of you. And really play with this idea of hard focus, and I think you all know what I mean. You know, you've got a blemish that's maybe, you know, right on your nose so that everybody can see it, and you just like go right there every time you look in the mirror. Instead of doing that, just step back, even literally take a step back and look at your whole being and what that emanates. So the three influences that we talked about, again, right here and now, are the media, your family and friends, and yourself. And if you can become conscious of those influences about how you look at beauty, and especially your own beauty, that's a great start right there, becoming aware of that. And, all right, so what do we do about it? How do we stop comparing ourselves to those actresses and models that don't feel beautiful either, and start really empowering ourselves around our own unique snowflake beauty? How do we do that? We're going to give you a couple ideas, and it's, as I said, a cultivation. We need to practice this because we've been sort of going along, and me included. Bonnie and I are included in this. You know, it's not like we have found the way, but I guess I have found the way. I have found the way out of that place where I'm just being influenced unconsciously by all these forces around me. So that's really what we're talking about, is shifting that. Bonnie, before I get into my ideas about stop comparing, start empowering, anything else you want to say about our influences?
Yeah, I just have a couple of quick things. You know, the media and our families and friends, those are external, right? Those are external locuses of control, and we can't do anything about that. But ourselves and our inner critic, that's where we have choice. That's where we can make a difference. So, you know, just sort of putting that out there and reminding people that that's something that we have a choice about. And the other thing I wanted to share, and I know you mentioned this earlier in the show, Betty, that, you know, it's not just women. I mean, we're talking about mostly women today, but I know when I was younger, I was not nearly as good at this as I am now. I'm still not, you know, perfect, certainly, but I accept myself much better than I did when I was younger. So a little story that happened when I was younger. I was, you know, concerned about my weight. I wasn't like obese or anything, but I felt I was over. All young women think they're overweight, right? But the effect that it had was beyond me. It was my older son, who was maybe, you know, how kids grow. You know, they're maybe a little pudgy for a while, and then they thin out as they grow taller. And then that was the case with Nick. And for like 2 summers, he never took a T-shirt off. Even when he was swimming, he would never take a T-shirt off because he was so self-conscious about his body. I think because I was about mine. And I feel so bad to this day about doing that to him. And, you know, I didn't, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I guess I wasn't as wise as I am now in my 50s. But oh my, you know, that you can hurt other people, because especially kids or people who are easily influenced, if you're seen as an authority figure, you know, it goes beyond you. So if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for the people around you, especially if you have children at home. And he sort of grew up and thinned out, and now he's really thin. But he doesn't diet or anything. He just exercises, and he's older now. He's in his 30s. But I remember that when he was, 11 or something, or 12, and I feel so bad that I feel guilty that I did that to him. So you just never know how it's going to affect other people.
It's so true, especially children. Children are watching you. They're not listening to you, especially when they become teenagers. They're watching you, and they will duplicate what you show them. And that has been a way that with several of my clients, that when they think about how their daughters, particularly because they're women, and so daughters are always looking to their moms for how to be as a woman and how to feel about yourself, that can really get them motivated to do the work on themselves. And so I'm so glad you pointed out, yourself, it's like, that's what you have control over. And the choice that we have around the media and family and friends are that we're aware of the impact of it, and that we can choose to define it for ourselves. So I just wanted to make that quick comment. And so, okay, now what can we do? How can we stop comparing? Well, it's really about finding your own beauty. It truly is. That is the key. Whether you start by doing it for somebody else, like your children, or whether you're just on your path, you see why it's so important for you to feel beautiful. Because when you feel beautiful, guess how you look? You look beautiful. It's a projection. What Maya Angelou has that fabulous poem about I'm a phenomenal woman. She's not the typical model, which is part of her poem. But guess what? When she walks in a room, people feel her beauty because she just is empowered around her beauty. She's empowered around her uniqueness. And so how do you find that for yourself? It's that mirror work that we have talked about on this show already and other shows as well, is standing in front of the mirror and practicing a soft focus, practicing finding beauty, finding what you love about the way you look. Maybe it's your eyes. Maybe it's your earlobe. Maybe I love my shoulders. Even though my arms show signs of aging, I still love my shoulders. It's finding your uniqueness. And then writing down at least 10 things that you love about the way you look. And the reason why I ask you to write them down is because the more different ways you can be with your beauty, like looking and writing and speaking, the more it actually integrates into your life and into your body. So I hope that makes sense. Ani, what do you want to share in terms of how people can stop comparing and start empowering themselves?
Well, I think what you said before, Betty, is just so true, that if you even just smile, when people are prettier, more attractive when they smile. And it's an energy thing. To me, it's an energy thing. And people are feeling, and I kind of go back to what I said earlier in the show. I think beauty should be, the definition of beauty should be what it feels like, not what it looks like. And we all know probably people are, we can think of people who maybe end up as a couple in some way, married or just, not married, but a couple. And one person is, kind of, not the greatest looking person in the world. And the other person is just so stunning that it makes you stop because you do notice that physical beauty. And the thing that attracts those two people together is not what each other looks like, it's what they have inside. And it's that connection, that feeling. And I see this all the time with couples, and and my husband always says, "Oh, I married up," and and I say, "No, I think I did," and so it's whatever it is, but it kind of goes back. The point I'm trying to make is, it's really in a true loving relationship, it really has very little to do with physical appearance. I really don't think it does. I mean, when I met my current husband the first time, we both worked at a hospital. Lots of women work at a hospital, not too many men, but he was one of the guys that worked there, and I didn't think too much of him. And it wasn't until we started dating and I actually started to have feelings for him that I said, "Oh my gosh, this guy's really handsome." But he's the same person. He didn't change his appearance or anything, but I didn't see that because I didn't feel that first. And I think that's something that, again, we can choose, because we can choose to let that smile out, to let our energy connect with other people.
Yeah, I love that story about you and Mike. And, the whole getting it down into the feeling place. And we're just about to dig into a little study about beauty, but we're going to take a quick pause, and when we come back, we're going to really give you some ideas about cultivating the relationship with your own beauty. So this is Bonnie and Betty on the Gift of Choice Radio, Choosing Pleasure. We'll be right back.
Are you one of the millions of people who struggle to relax, sleep well, or even lose weight? Have you ever wondered why it's so hard? If you think your brain might have something to do with it, you're right. Now you can learn how to access the powerful energy of the mind-body connection with the Ultimate Health and Wellness Gift Set, a 4-CD collection of guided meditations from holistic nurse practitioner Bonnie Gressel. You can use them all for yourself or split the individually wrapped CDs into gifts for friends and family. The Ultimate Health and Wellness Gift Set includes all of Bonnie's popular CDs, including Restful Sleep, Relax, Meditation for Busy People, and Weight Loss. To get your copy of the Ultimate Health and Wellness Gift Set, go to BonnieGressel.com and click the Products tab. That's BonnieGressel.com.
Well, we're back. This is the Bonnie and Betty Show at the Gift of Choice. We're talking about beauty today. And I had a quick comment before we get back into the show about the segment that just played, the commercial that just played. One of the guided meditations I have out there is called Weight Loss. And the reason it's called weight loss is because that's what people know. That's what people search for when they're looking for something. But really, it has more to do with just feeling good about yourself and in eating well, and that you feel good when you eat the better foods and all of that. And so I sometimes cringe when I hear it on a commercial and it says weight loss, because it's not a diet. It's really more an energy thing and feeling good about who you are inside. And because we're talking about beauty today, I felt like I needed to say something about it today. So there's my little piece.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a really good point. I mean, we're entrepreneurs and we want to pull people in based on what they think they want. But what we know is that this idea of cultivating beauty, everybody wants that on a deep level. And so, if what gets you here and what gets you to Bonnie's site is thinking that she can help you lose weight, and she can, by the way, that's great. And then we're going to give you way more than you thought you were going to get, that it's not just about weight loss. And another great segue into what I wanted to share right now, which is someone I interviewed several years ago. Her name is Cynthia DeSoto, and she wrote a book called Changing the Way the World Thinks About Beauty. She herself was a beauty industry executive, and she wrote this book, and then she took it all over the country and did workshops with 7,500 beauty executives. And she gave them all this exercise to think of a beautiful person in their world write that person's name down, and then write 10 characteristics of why they thought that person was beautiful. And what came down was that only 15% of the responses had anything to do with physical beauty. And I thought this was particularly significant given that this is the beauty industry. These are people they're all about making people look good on the outside. And even they, when it came right down to what beauty was all about, it wasn't about great hair, great skin, nice eyes. It was about kindness, compassion, loving, generosity, all of those characteristics. That is what makes someone beautiful. And this gets back to what Bonnie was saying about the feeling. These are feeling things, You feel compassion. You feel kindness. You look at beauty, but you feel these other expressions. And so what Cynthia came up with, and I love it, every time I read it, I like it more and more. She came up with 3 main areas to look at when you're defining your own beauty. 1, be true to your best self. Be true to your best self. The second one, create the experience of beauty. We have beauty all around us, and we get to choose what we pay attention to. The rose bush is a great example. Do we look at the thorns? Do we look at the flower? We get to choose what we pay attention to. And finally, giving to the greater good. These were 3 things based on all of these people that she spoke with that she boiled down to this is really what creates beauty within and beauty without, too. Because, of course, our insides are always being expressed. Whether we're aware of it or not, they are. Thoughts, Bonnie?
Well, I think that's just so true, and we can't, and I say this all the time, we can't control other people. So being true to your best self, being your authentic self, being who you not having to feel like you have to wear a mask or be somebody else. Just be you, because you is beautiful. And then feeling that you are beautiful just makes you more beautiful, because it's just a different energy. You smile, you get a little bounce in your step. You actually look physically different. And creating the beauty, the experience of beauty, oh my goodness, we have, it's finally spring. Well, I shouldn't say finally, it's only April, but it's finally spring here in Wisconsin. And so my husband put the screens on the windows the other day so that we can open up the windows, and oh my goodness, it smelled so good. It smelled like outside, like spring. Unless you live in a state, a climate where you do have season changes, maybe you can't relate to this, but there's a different smell about it. It's just so awesome. And then it's like the first time you cut fresh grass and all that sort of thing. And we are fortunate to have the back of our house faces west, and we have some water behind us, and we get great sunsets over the bay. And that's just phenomenal. I mean, sometimes we'll just stop what we're doing, and we'll just go stand outside for a minute or two and just look at the sunset, because we're so taken by that beauty. And so, like Betty said, beauty is all around us, but we just choose to see it or not. And if you're thinking more about it, say you're focused more on beauty, just as a topic even, you will see more of it. That's that whole law of attraction thing, right? So it's like I tell a story about when I got a new car. It was green. To me, I don't know much about cars, so to me it was a green car. Pretty soon, I saw all these other green cars out in the community. Same thing with beauty. If you are thinking about beauty, you will see more of it.
That is so true, so true. So if you have made it all the way to the end of the show with us here, you can be guaranteed that you will begin to experience more beauty in your life. I did a workshop just last week. It was on pleasure. It was a little broader than just the beauty topic, but I was asking the participants to listen to the birds, because I'm down here in Arizona, and there are so many birds that are everywhere I've been in Arizona. And he was telling me he came to the workshop because he was struggling with pleasure, with the word pleasure. He was not at all connected to pleasure. And he said, you know what? I live at my son's apartment right now. It's in the city. I don't ever hear birds. And I said, well, maybe that's true. I said, but I just ask you to go out. You can hear the traffic or you can hear the birds. And he shared with me a couple of days later that, yes, in fact, there were birds right there in the city. So it's where we pay attention. And I'm just going to plant this seed around pleasure, too, because this is my greater love of a topic. When you can touch into your beauty combined with your sensuality, which is what Bonnie just shared when she and Mike go and stand and just take a minute to look at the sunset, that is a sensual moment. When you can combine your beauty and your sensuality and really be with that, 100% present with that, your sexual experiences will be dramatically different than they are if you're not in touch with that. So those are two key pieces to get to deeper pleasure. And the pleasure doesn't have to just be sexual, but because we are sexual beings, and that's something I'm also interested in helping to educate people around a healthy sexuality. I did just want to say these are the two components to really help you move into a nice, healthy sexuality where you can really feel a lot of pleasure. So the takeaway from our conversation today is to be compassionate with yourself. No matter what your experiences are, where you are at this point in your life, whether you're overweight, whether you feel old, whether, you have blemishes, whatever it is, you can begin right here and right now to cultivate a new way to see yourself and find your own beauty. I want to let you know that's one of the reasons we went over all those statistics. Is it's the human condition because of our culture for us not to like the way that we look about ourselves. So it does take a conscious effort and listening to shows like this to really move us into a different place. So what question would you like to leave them with, Bonnie?
Well, I think what you talked about earlier, Betty, about the mirror work and looking in the mirror, I would challenge all of our listeners in our community to actually, first of all, look at themselves in the mirror, because many people don't. They brush their teeth and their teeth and wash their face, whatever. Their eyes aren't even open. So actually look at yourself in the mirror, and maybe, if you don't want to do a list, to write down a list of 10 things, okay, but do acknowledge and notice something. And then not only notice it, say it's your smile or your hair or whatever, or your eyes. Not only acknowledge it, but then feel grateful. Feel the gratitude that comes with that for having that and for noticing it. And for all the other things you want to be grateful for, you can, expand that as big as you want. But I would encourage people to choose at least something, and then also be thankful.
Nice. So if you have thoughts, comments about this show, about if you want to answer the question, which we would absolutely love, when do you feel beautiful? What do you like about the way you look? We would love to hear your responses and your comments on the Gift of Choice radio show Facebook page. So please, we will be interacting there, and we'd love to hear from you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Bye, Betty.
Bye, Bonnie.